The time is 6 p.m. We have a quorum and this meeting has been duly posted. Good evening and welcome to the monthly board meeting of the Dallas Independent School District Board of Trustees. If you'll please stand and join us for a moment of silence and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and the salute to the Texas flag. The following trustees are present. District 1, Trustee Edwin Flores. District 2, Trustee Dustin Marshall. District 3, Trustee Dan Mitchkay. District 4, Trustee Carla Garcia. District 6, Trustee Joyce Foreman must have just stepped out. District 7, Trustee Ben Mackey. District 8, Trustee Joe Carrion. Our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Michael Hinojosa, joins us, and I'm Justin Henry, Board President. This meeting will be available simultaneously in Spanish and on social media through Dallas ISD and Espanol on Facebook and through the district's website. Trustee Flores, please.
Esta reunión se va a transmitir simultáneamente en español a través de las redes sociales por Dallas ISD en español en Facebook y en la página web del distrito. Gracias.
Thank you. On March 16th, Governor Greg Abbott granted a request by Attorney General Ken Paxton to temporarily suspend a limited number of open meetings laws to the extent necessary to allow telephonic or video conference meetings in response to COVID-19. In accordance with the suspended law rules, we certify the following. A, notice of this meeting has been posted online for at least 72 hours. B, we have a quorum in attendance at this meeting, either physically or trustees are in attendance through video conference via Zoom. C, we're in meeting by use of Zoom meeting software application, which allows two-way communication for members of the public. D, members of the public who have followed the instructions on the meeting notice registering to speak during the public comment portion will be allowed to address the board for 3 minutes. E, all other meeting procedures will adhere to board-adopted procedures to the extent practicable. F, an audio recording of this meeting is being made and will be made available to the public. G, we apologize in advance for any unforeseeable difficulties and ask for your patience as we navigate unprecedented conditions. H, if you have questions about these suspended laws, please call the Office of Attorney General at 888-672-6787 or by email at toma@oag.texas.gov. I don't see any elected or public officials in the room, but trustees, in recognition of both our competition winners and Black History Month, which is celebrated in the month of February, we have 2 special performances tonight. I want to thank Trustee Foreman for helping us invite one of these folks. Ms. Proctor, will you please introduce our guests?
Thank you, President Henry. The board is honored to welcome the David W. Carter High School Choir. We're going to give them a few moments. The board is honored to welcome the David W. Carter High School Choir. This is their 2nd consecutive year performing during Black History Month under the direction of music teacher Demetrius Ethley.
Every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberties. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the the present has brought us, facing the rising sun of a new day's begun. Let us march on till victory. Let us march on till victory. Let us march on till victory is won.
The board is honored to recognize Dominic Patermo, a fifth grade student at Harry C. Withers Elementary School, and this year's Foley and Lardner's Martin Luther King Jr. Oratory Competition winner. Dominic, please come forward. Students wrote their speeches and delivered them based on their answer to the question, how do you think Dr. King's teachings can help us today? This event is designed to recognize and encourage the writing and oratory skills of elementary school students. It is a celebration of cultural diversity and an opportunity to spotlight talented students as they learn about Dr. King. Dominic will now share his winning speech with us.
The time is always right to do the right thing. It is time to act, and that means starting with yourself. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has many teachings that we can all learn from today. I believe that there are 4 lessons that would help the world be more united. 1. Dr. King emphasized having intentional purpose, knowing your cause. 2nd, change is constant. It is your reaction that matters. 3rd, enlist your best allies, even if they're not your best friends. 4th, and most important, persevere. Dr. King emphasized having intentional purpose, knowing your cause. When you have passion for what you believe in, you have more influence with your words. It is today that we are seeking to accept a contract with Black America. Influencers such as musicians, politicians, and educators have come together to address the root causes of racism and develop a roadmap for a comprehensive solution. The purpose of this is to provide greater financial opportunities for Black American families. This is a perfect example of knowing what you are fighting for. It is a journey that will take lots of hard work and effort, and we will see this through. Change is constant. It is your reaction that matters. In today's world, with the Black Lives Matter, Martin Luther King Jr. would support the cause, but shun the violence. He believed in nonviolent protest. Protests have become more dangerous over the years. I witnessed in Austin, Texas, and in their own city of Dallas, where streets were blocked off by the police because of riots. I saw vandalism and profanity written on the walls of businesses. This type of behavior is unacceptable. We need to not overreact. There is no reason we cannot share our beliefs with love and kindness. Ultimately, we are all fighting for a better world to live in. Enlist your best allies, even if they're not your best friends. Your best friends support and love you for who you are. Allies have your back. They challenge you and are tough. They will tell you when you're not living up to your own expectations. You might not always agree, but you need to work through your differences to reach your results. Sometimes you must give up something to get what you want. Regardless of which side of the table you sit on, whether you're a blue state or a red state, whether you're a person of color or not, we are all humans. This is the type of maturity that we need to see. Fourth, and most important, persevere. When faced with setbacks, will you stop or move forward? You must have the confidence and work ethic to continue to push forward in trying times. My favorite actor died from cancer this summer. He was the Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, and he had a statement that Dr. King would have embraced. Fearlessness means taking the first step, even if you don't know where it will take you. It means being driven by a higher purpose rather than applause. It means knowing that you reveal your character when you stand apart more than when you stand with the crowd. Racism is like cancer. You never give up the fight. These 4 teachings that I've highlighted are just a few of the many Martin Luther King Jr. taught in his time. We need to pursue the truth within ourselves. We need to continue to fight for what is right, to have compassion and faith for one another. President Joe Biden addressed the nation and quoted from the hymn, "On Eagle's Wings." He said, "And he will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on the breath of dawn, and make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of his hand." Let us rejoice with our humanity, and with God's strength, we will persevere. Our Americanness is not enough. We must be united. Believe, be real, be you. Thank you.
Dominic, please remain standing. Superintendent Hinojosa and Trustee Flores, please come forward to join Dominic for a photo.
See you next week.
Congratulations, Dominic. This concludes our recognitions.
Thank you again, Dominique, and the members of the David W. Carter High School Choir. We're now going to move on to reports, beginning with the superintendent's report. Dr. Hinojosa.
Yeah, Mr. President, members of the board, I'll be very brief this evening. This district and this community is resilient. First of all, we survived a tornado. We're surviving a pandemic, and we survived a snowmageddon. And it has been amazing to watch how our team, you're going to see some photos of things that our team jumped into action. Under the great leadership of David Bates, who probably hasn't slept since last Friday. They went in and started. We had 130 pipes that burst in 120 buildings. And so this is about half the district that was affected. And around the clock, our teams have been out there, first of all, repairing the pipes, then taping and floating, and then painting. And it has just been a classic work of teamwork. And our maintenance department has done an outstanding job of getting our students back in school. Unfortunately, there were 4 campuses that did not open on yesterday. And we still have one that will not be open for several more days. They don't actually even have power yet. And so, but I do want to thank the incredible team of employees that we have that stepped up and worked around the clock. In addition to our maintenance department, our IT department did a tremendous job behind the scenes also, making sure that we had our connectivity and replacing devices that got damaged, and all of the other things that happened to you in your personal home happened to many of us in our schools. So I want to once again publicly thank our employees and thank our leadership under Dwayne Thompson and David Bates, and I'm sure many others that made this work happen. And so, Mr. President, that concludes my report with a round of applause for our team.
Thank you, Dr. Hinojosa. Are there any committee reports? Not seeing any. We're going to begin with trustee reports. We'll start with District 1 and then circulate through District 9.
Thank you, President Henry. First, I want to congratulate Dominic, of course, and the Withers Wildcats for bringing home the Martin Luther King Oratory Contest trophy back to District 1 again. Very proud of that. If you folks may not know this, but I actually worked at the predecessor of Foley. I used to work at Gardere and Wynn many years ago, and we're very grateful for their support of this competition and the amazing words that we heard today. Next, congratulations to the W.T. White High School boys soccer team for being ranked number 3 in UIL's 5A category. Congratulations, Horns. Keep up the great work. And finally, kudos to the teachers, administrators, and other staff of the District Career Institute North who joined the Dallas ISD Teen School Board on a project to build desks for underserved students throughout Dallas ISD. Overall, the event was a great success and produced 13 new desks. Thank you very much.
I'll give the District 2 report. First, congratulations to Woodrow student Emily Ward, who won Outstanding Advocate at the DISD High School Mock Trial 2021 on February 3rd. Also, interesting story. A few weeks ago, Frank Miller was looking for somebody to throw a baseball with him, and his wife posted a request on social media, and a few of the North Dallas Bulldog baseball team players were among the people who responded and spent some time throwing the ball with Mr. Miller at Cole Park. That got some media coverage, and as a result, on February 4th, Frank Miller and the North Dallas baseball team were invited by the Texas Rangers to play at Globe Life Park. Really cool story, so congrats to the Bulldog baseball players that were a part of that. On February 8th, the Woodrow girls golf team won first place at the DISD Athletics Golf Tournament held at Cedar Crest Golf Course, so way to go, ladies. Following that, 2 days later, the boys team also won first place, so great job, everyone. Also, congrats to the Woodrow girls basketball team, which became district champs after defeating Hillcrest. Congrats, ladies. On February 13th, North Dallas High School just celebrated its 99th birthday. What a great historic event, and look forward to a year from now celebrating 100 years at North Dallas. Also, congratulations to Chloe Dietz, a Woodrow rower with the Dallas United crew. On February 20th, she committed to Columbia University women's rowing class of 2025. She's the second rower to attend an Ivy League school from Woodrow, so congrats. And lastly, congratulations to our D2 STEM Expo Championship winners from Sudie Williams, KB Polk, and North Dallas High School. That concludes the District 2 report. Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to give the District 3 report, but first I want to just mention something about Dominic. I believe he was the second place winner last year, and by tradition, the Dallas Bar Association always invites the second place winner to speak at the Martin Luther King luncheon in the Belo in downtown. And he gave his speech and as the second place winner last year, and it was terrific. It was a different speech, as a matter of fact. And one of my friends, a very well-known lawyer in Dallas, Bill Holston, was the person who was going to receive the annual Dallas Bar Association award, and he had to follow Dominic. And he said the first thing he said was, "I think I should leave now," because Dominic was a tough act to follow. I'd like to first also say thank you to our staff for all of the hard work that they have done as a result of this snowstorm and power loss and water damage. There's been a lot of it in East Dallas, and really appreciate seeing everybody working so hard to try to get things back up and running. Thank you to the Bryan Adams High School for hosting a food and supplies drive to collect canned goods, groceries, and household items to help those affected by the winter storm. As always, you are good and thoughtful neighbors to your community. And thank you also to the Vickery Food Pantry for providing sustenance, and to the Vickery Library and Emmett J. Conrad High School in District 3 for providing warmth after the storm. You're lifesavers. And we also had a tremendous amount of help in Vickery Meadow from organizations like Literacy Achieves and the Vickery Meadow Youth Foundation, among others, who worked really hard to provide food and water to the families of our students. Some of you may have seen that there were families in Vickery Meadow who were getting their water from a fire hydrant to use for toilets and baths and so forth. It's just devastating impact up in Vickery Meadow, and these organizations that have been longtime partners with Dallas ISD and Vickery Meadow really stepped up, and they're still working at it because power has not been restored to a number of complexes where our families live. Kudos to PE teacher Paul Curbo at Larry G. Smith Elementary School for remotely incorporating movement through a Just Dance video to create an active, engaging lesson for the students. And congratulations to the Casa View Elementary School's Lady Bots for being the first Dallas ISD team to qualify for the 2021 VEX World Championship. Thank you, Mr. President.
For District 4, thank you to the Siemens Foundation, which chose the Young Men's Leadership Academy at Fred F. Lawrence Middle School as the inaugural recipient of its laptop donation program. This donation will help ensure that students can continue their education in a virtual learning environment due to the pandemic. Also, sincerest gratitude to Samuel High School for providing a safe, warm shelter for families during the winter storm and serving as a warming center for families. And congratulations to Ms. Jessica Shaw for her years of dedicated volunteer service at Samuel High School. She's brought scholarship opportunities and awards to the JROTC student program from the Veterans of Foreign Affairs, donated robot and other technology items for the computer class, worked within the city of Dallas to add a red light for students to safely walk home, played a key role in having safety measures placed for our special needs sidewalk to protect students from bad weather, and started a booster club that allows the community the opportunity to donate to the school. So for everything you've done, Mrs. Shaw, thank you immensely for your service. I'd also like to extend my más sentido pésame for the passing of a beloved community member and educator of the Eden Rangel Young Women's Leadership School, my DISD alma mater, and extend to the students in our community my condolences and letting you know that I understand just the sincere impact that our educators make for our lives as students, and was devastated to hear his passing, and I hope that we will look ahead, but wanted to recognize the Rangel community today and during this devastating time. That concludes my report. Thank you, President Henry.
Kudos to Barack Obama Male Leadership Academy Middle School Choir for participating and performing in the 2021 Texas Music Educators Association Convention earlier this month. Congratulations to Hannah Yusuf, a Law Magna Senior at Townview Center, who is the only district student to be named a 2021 Coca-Cola Scholar Regional finalist. Hannah was selected from nearly 100,000 students across the country. The winning students will each receive a $20,000 scholarship. We wish him the best. Salute to all the outstanding students who won championships in the 2021 Dallas ISD STEM Expo. District 5 students won or placed second in several competitions, including science and engineering, bridge building, math Olympian, robotics, and digital media. Awesome job. Shout out to the boys varsity basketball team at Wilma Hutchins High School for their 69-65 OT victory against Alvarado in a bi-district playoff game. Go Eagles. Congratulations to the Pinkston girls basketball team for their win over Kennedale. They are headed to the regional semifinals. Congratulations to Coach Mays and the South Oak Cliff boys basketball team on their come-from-behind victory over Lovejoy, hard-earned victory. Also, thanks to Taylor Torrance and Fort Oak Cliff for providing warmth to the community, as well as the principals that was in District 5 that opened up their schools to provide warming stations in District 5. Thank you.
The report from District 6. February is Black History Month, a time the country highlights and celebrates the accomplishments of Black Americans. And the fact that Black history is a part of America's history is important for all Americans to know, learn about, and understand. We really do have to make sure that a broader, richer, and basis for learning American history be taught to every child in this country. With that in mind, kudos to the Racial Equity Office for the wonderful tradition of the African American Read-In, happening virtually this Friday. This has been a decades-long event that was started by Carla Ranger, who also represented District 6, and it will be from 3:30 to 5. Shout out also to T.G. Terry Elementary School, which is hosting a virtual Black History Month program on Friday at 2:30 p.m., where I will be participating. A heartfelt thanks to our teachers for the constant care and concern for students despite storm damages and outages at their homes. I know many of you are navigating repairs and cleanup, and know that I am with you wherever you are and in whatever district. And last, thank you to the Carter Choir for always being on time and ready to do what's right. David W. Carter Boys Varsity Basketball Team, I'm with you, CC. They defeated Anna 91-41 and are now District 12 4A Region champs. That's great. And by the way, the Kimball Knights are still in the hunt also. Go KK. Thank you.
All right, for District 7, I'd first like to start by congratulating Trinity Garza Early College High School for being one of only 26 schools in Texas who've been nominated for the 2021 National Blue Ribbon Honor, which is an enormous, enormous honor. So thank you for the teachers, the staff, Principal Macario Hernandez, the parents, and the students for the outstanding work and support. A huge thanks for continuing to exemplify academic excellence at Trinity Garza. This nomination is a huge achievement in and of itself, and y'all should be proud of it and look forward to hopefully seeing you bring it home as well. I'd also like to recognize Adamson High School coach B.J. Ryder on achieving the Whataburger Coach of the Week for the 2020 season. Thank you for making such a positive impact on your team, your school, and your community through the hard work and dedication to our young athletes. Congratulations, and this concludes my report.
For the District 8 report, kudos to Solar Preparatory School for Girls Reading and Language Arts teacher Rochelle Haley for receiving the SMU Excellent Educator Award. Congratulations also to Miss Laurel Durant of Pancho Medrano Junior High, who helped secure 400 plus coats for Medrano students through Operation Warm. I also have many people I want to thank. It's been a difficult week for so many of our families. Luckily in District 8 and throughout our city, we have a number of people who have stepped up to keep our families warm and to get our kids food and water. I want to highlight some. Buckner International, Albert Reyes, and Ricardo Bramilia for stepping up and opening up a warming center. Amazing parents at Mount Auburn Elementary School who partnered with the city to distribute water. Ms. Gibson, Ms. Lopez, Ms. Lanier Herrera. Cathedral Hope in District 8, who continue to support and continues to support Burnett Elementary School. Principal Sigurdsson at Medrano Junior High, who with her team raised $10,000 to provide supplemental water and food for our kids. Principal Saul, who again, we were lucky enough to get water from the city, and who herself, because it was so short notice, who herself stood there and helped distribute the water to Spence families and students. Evan, Amaya, and the team at Jubilee Park Community Center. A special thank you to a gentleman named Christoph Kopoen. Mr. Kopoen is from Dayton, Ohio, and he filled his 36-foot truck and drove it from Ohio to Foster Elementary School in District 8, and it was filled with water and goods for our students, and that got distributed today, this afternoon, and I want to just thank him for that amazing effort and the people of Dayton for sending him. And then everyone who helped us unload that big truck, United to Learn, Mr. Lentz, at Foster, students from Jesuit College Prep, and many others. And then, of course, I've mentioned it throughout. Thank you to the City of Dallas council members, Omar Narvaez and Adam Adrano, who helped us who have continued to help us with obtaining water. And throughout District 8, we still have apartment complexes that don't have running water. And so I thank them for the communication, for providing warming buses that we were able to place at Madrano Junior High, and for all their support and communication. So, and then last, of course, not least, I also want to extend my gratitude to Dallas ISD PD, who helped with several events in District 8, and I'm extremely grateful, and to our maintenance team who were able to open our schools back up as soon as possible. Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes the District 8 report.
Thank you, trustees. I'll begin the District 9 report. First, I want to publicly thank the Racial Equity Office, Chief Lear, in both of her capacities, Dr. Quinn, for the ongoing amount of events and everything, frankly, for the celebration of Black History Month, from banners to events to seminars to webcasts. There's just been culminating with the African American reading that Trustee Foreman talked about. That's been an ongoing event in DISD for a long time. It's very apparent, the time and the effort that was put into it. I just want to publicly appreciate you all for that effort. This has been a tough week for DISD in our community. Also been incredibly proud. Start with the same people I was talking about, Chief Lear and Dr. Anna also was on at least one call with you all with the Dallas delegate, led by Senator West and others. Just always willing to stand ready and willing to support our community in a time of need. So I appreciate the activity and the connection that you had during that time. Also want to thank Trustee Foreman and Bates back there. I don't know how you're back here and awake. And Ms. Wiggins, who was here earlier, for walking Lincoln. Lincoln's one of the schools that was hit the hardest. And on kind of short notice, you all went there and walked with us on the campus to see the devastation in person on the boiler in the attic. Had a few pipes bust, and it just flowed like a river in various parts of the school. So thank you for your team and your staff, Mr. Bates, and the commitment they have. Many of them hadn't slept. It seemed like you had everybody out there duly committed to doing it and doing it the right way. In particular, I believe it's Bernard, the lead janitor at Lincoln, who was just an inspiration. I mean, he hadn't slept for sure. He was so committed. He didn't complain at all. He showed so much love for Lincoln and the community, and it was just an inspiration. So I'm hoping again, it was his birthday that day we were there, and not a complaint at all. So it just speaks to the type of people that we have. We often talk about educators, but our staff and our support staff that are just so duly committed, because without them opening the school, we can't serve our own mission, which is educating students. So thank you, Mr. Bates, and your team and everyone in that whole department. Thoroughly impressed. I'm being redundant now, but worked around the clock making repairs, helping schools recover, still recovering from the winter storm. Also want to shout out to a lot of the people in the churches and other organizations that have reached out to assist families. I think many have already discussed them, but the water, the food, everything that everyone's been doing. It feels like every time we hit these things, whether it's a tornado or a pandemic, the community really rallies behind our schools, and we really appreciate that. And last but not least, I want to congratulate, I have a few more actually. Second to last, I want to congrats to the mock trial team of Booker T. Washington High School and a combined team of Skyline and Bryan Adams, known as the White Rock Mock Trial Team. Both are heading to state contest next week. And I want to congratulate all the teams from District 9 that made the playoffs. The Lincoln boys, the Lincoln girls, the Skyline girls. The Madison boys are still in it. They're playing tonight, and if we didn't have this board meeting, I'd be out there supporting them. They won last week convincingly, and hoping we'll do the same tonight. With that, I conclude the District 9, excuse me, I conclude the District 9 report. And our forum agenda now calls for the public forum segment of our meeting. Ms. Grant, will you please call the names of the speakers?
Good evening. Our first speaker is Rosemary Kurtz.
My name is Rosemary Kurtz. In our country these days, there has been a lot of talk about accountability, about how even when it's too late to change outcomes, we still must demand that those who wronged or neglected others must face the damage they've done. It's too late to change the outcome for Kathy Wynn, a DISD teacher at Ignite Middle School, until less than 2 weeks ago when she passed away after a battle with COVID-19 and COVID-related pneumonia that lasted over 2 months. Ms. Wynn, who is in the DISD email system as Fuang Cipriano, was 37 years old when she died. She left behind a 10-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old son. Kathy was my union sister in Alliance AFT. She messaged me and a couple other teachers on Facebook in mid-December to tell us she was in the hospital with COVID. On December 19th, she messaged us again and told us that she was glad that we as teachers had managed to make it to winter break. Then she wrote, quote, I did the math last night. It took less than 2 months for me to contract COVID. The kids were in person October 5th and I got sick December 4th. I'm currently in ICU and I'm determined not to step back into that building. I'm already thinking of ideas, either fighting to work from home for the rest of the semester or finding another job. They are already giving me the runaround with getting emergency paid sick leave, both with benefits and the local campus. Later, she added, I hate them so much right now. I'm determined to find another job and resign ASAP. I wish so badly this would go out to the news. We already saw what happened to the Grand Prairie ISD teachers. We asked if she would be okay with us sharing her story publicly, and she replied, I'm fine with you sharing. People need to know what they're doing. Shortly after returning to school in person in October, Kathy also messaged another friend about wanting to leave teaching. She said the stress of teaching virtual and in-person middle schoolers was too much and that her depression was setting back in. So this is how Kathy spent her last few months of life. After the district forced her to go back to work in unsafe conditions, she was stressed and depressed. She then caught COVID and then spent weeks struggling with the benefits department. I don't believe she ever got her issues resolved. All the struggles in the last few months of her life and her death itself were caused by the district's cowardice and neglect. Kathy was an energetic and passionate teacher, activist, and friend. She spoke to the school board herself in November 2019 about her concerns regarding the way her students were over-tested and the teachers micromanaged to force them to overwhelm students with test prep. She was an advocate for her students and her colleagues. There's nothing the district can do now to make up for Kathy's death. If you shut down all schools immediately, it would not bring her back to her children. But the board members, superintendent, and district admin can be held accountable. You can face what you did to her. You have not fought for the safety of your employees. Instead, when TEA threatened us with funding cuts, you shrugged and said your hands were tied. If the board, admin, and superintendent truly believe this was the best course of action, do you think you can face Ms. Wynn's 2 small children, look them in the eye, and say, hey, but at least we might have hopefully minimized learning loss? If you do feel you can do that, I can only say God have mercy on your souls. If you don't feel you can do that, start fighting for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Michael Gonzalez.
Hi, my name is Michael Gonzalez, and I'm reading an anonymous statement on behalf of a friend and former colleague of Kathy Wynn. Kathy was a former coworker of mine and a friend. I'm devastated at the news of her death after praying so hard for her recovery. I could speak so much to what she added to the education of the students in DISD, but that was never my first thought. I thought of how she always spoke of her children, how we shared advice on simple stuff like potty training, how her family was her world. When I heard of her passing, I could only think of her precious babies who lost their mother. There was sadness and disbelief. Then there was anger that this didn't have to happen. Anger that districts promise safety, but it's not true. Anger that those in high positions speak to the board about how great things are and how perfectly safe it is, knowing it is a lie or choosing to be ignorant of what is really happening in schools. Distancing is a joke. Kids and even some staff don't wear masks properly and nothing is done. The fact that districts don't care that teachers die, that Kathy died when this could have been prevented, how many more deaths are needed? How many more children need to lose a parent for them to care? Will they ever care? Over and over, it is proven that teachers are disposable, yet expected to sacrifice everything. Every leader from the state down to the district is responsible for the decisions that led to the loss of life when they had the ability to make a different choice. Kathy was an educator, an amazing human being, giving and loving. Thank you. That's my time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Andrew Kirk.
Good evening, trustees and superintendent. This is Andrew Kirk, Alliance AFT Executive Board Member, Building Leader, and TEI Committee Chair. Tonight, I'm speaking to the concerns of our membership and specifically addressing the need to suspend local standardized testing and TEI, considering the level of disruption both students and education workers have experienced this year. In addition to rolling quarantines and in many cases the loss of family members in the pandemic, we now have to contend with over a week of missing instructional time due to Winter Storm Uri. Large numbers of our students and families lost access to necessary supports, including meals, due to impassable roads, power outages, and property damage. While our district's testing and evaluation regime made little sense prior to last week, Winter Storm Uri and the resulting disruption compounded existing problems related to equity and the consistency of data collection. What will STAR and the spring ACPs effectively assess? How will TEI capture the trauma students, education workers, and family alike are experiencing? The narrative of COVID loss, meanwhile, contributes to these stressors as students feel pressure to address what they perceive are their own academic deficits in a failure to quote-unquote catch up. This is morally perverse. Our basic asks are threefold. One, waive local testing such as spring ACPs. In normal circumstances, the results of these tests largely reflect a focus on narrowly aligning instruction to assess domains. With an even greater range of variables beyond teacher control now, what do they measure? The tests present a huge opportunity cost that limits space for authentic engagement and real learning. My own students were visibly relieved when fall ACPs were waived. The suspension of testing creates an opening that can be filled with SEL support, flexible activities, and enrichment. 2, lobby Education Commissioner Morath to ask for a federal testing waiver for STAR. The test shouldn't be given at all, least of all in person, which would be a logistical nightmare, nor should it constitute a requirement for graduation or promotion, particularly during a pandemic where students have experienced so much stress, anxiety, and loss. 3, suspend TEI evaluations for the 2020 to 2021 year and grant all staff increases in lieu of performance-based, in quotes, raises. Feedback this year should be qualitative and supportive rather than quantitative and punitive, and the experience of the pandemic is an opportunity to revisit teacher evaluation in this spirit. Audre Lorde wrote that there's no such thing as a single-issue struggle because we do not lead single-issue lives. It's neither necessary nor useful to counterpose the interests of students to those of teachers. Our working conditions are truly their learning conditions. I ask that you consider our district's testing and teacher evaluation regimes intricately related to students' social emotional well-being and honor your own commitment to trauma-informed practice. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jacqueline Martinez.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
5 months ago, my former colleague and beloved teacher / community pillar at Cochrane Elementary, Mr. James Beckers, died of COVID-19. Not one word from the district or school to publicly acknowledge or pay tribute to this dedicated teacher who served your district for almost 20 years. He deserved better than to be swept under the rug. I learned of Mr. Beckers' passing the day I resigned, and I actually second-guessed my own decision. Am I being ridiculous, I wondered? Paranoid? Operating from fear? It is crystal clear now that questioning what was caution on my part and justifiable distrust of Dallas ISD was a result of the typical normalized gaslighting that happens to teachers. The type of corruption and abuse of power that runs rampant within the district has once again silenced teachers into compliance. Allow me to explain. I had never met or worked with Kathy Wynn, a middle school teacher at Ignite Middle School. She reached out to me from her hospital bed in December. She'd gotten COVID and was about to go on a ventilator. She shared that both her campus and the benefits department were giving her a hard time about emergency paid sick leave. This was while she was in her hospital bed. She died on February 13th, and although teachers were specifically instructed to not tell the students that she died of COVID, that is exactly what killed her. She died from pneumonia, which resulted from COVID. How dare you try to twist the truth? That's only half the story. Miss Wynn's colleagues and every teacher who works in Dallas ISD are too afraid to come forward to share what's really going on at their campus. They have firsthand knowledge of the school's failure to follow safety protocols with fidelity. We managed to get a few anonymous submissions, but unfortunately, a few backed out when the admin held a meeting yesterday after school to tell everyone to, quote, be careful what they say because it can negatively affect them, end quote. Shame on the admin at Ignite for using intimidation and fear to silence teachers. At the very least, Miss Wynn's trustee could have at the very least given his condolences during his report. All of you know this is wrong. I have made you aware of this kind of toxic leadership in the past, and not one of you has reached out to me to try and resolve this issue. If you think this doesn't affect students or your precious test scores, you are mistaken. Threatening teachers is abuse, and it will and has trickled down to students. If you don't understand the connection of a teacher's well-being tied with students, then you do not belong in your position and should resign. If you want to continue turning the cheek when whistleblowers bring something to your attention, you do not belong in that seat. You may not be able to control state mandates, but you have the ability to investigate EDs and principals who abuse their power and hold them accountable for their unprofessional behavior. You have the ability to empower teachers by simply listening to their truth so that you can correct an injustice. You choose not to. And for that reason alone, this entire board has blood on their hands. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Gerald Alley.
Thank you, Board. I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you this evening. I'm addressing the item CS 2006, Program Management Services. And before I start, I want to be humble and recognize some of the issues that have been brought before you. Listening to it really touched my heart. So I understand as a trustee of a university, you have a lot on your shoulders to deal with, and I compliment you in giving an opportunity for people to speak on the issues. But as it relates to this item that I'm talking about, I am the CEO president of Conrail, representing the broadest Conrail team that submitted on this proposal. And what I wanted to first say, we appreciate having the opportunity to be selected as one of the firms that you all will consider about the orders in which you will offer opportunities for which we will serve you in building your capital program. We are very proud in our proposal that we presented. We are the 100% hub-related team. That includes veterans, African Americans, Hispanic, women-owned businesses. Ironically, part two of my point is that somehow through the processing of the selection, it was not recognized that our firm was made up, even according to the forms, that we have a prime hub as a veteran, and you have a great deal, 60% of subs that are hub firms that are part of that firm. And somehow in the scoring of that, it was not recognized. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention because we, like you, are committed, and our firm, it's Conrail, is committed in the DISD growth in the community it serves from years back. So we appreciate the opportunity to be part of that process and look forward in working with you in the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Linda Barrett.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I want to thank you for allowing me to speak at this time. I am a driver for Longview, and I'm a member of the Alliance AFT Local 2260. I want to speak on the compensation for the staff for the CDL drivers and monitors. I am very concerned and asking that you would up our pay, give us a decent raise for all of us in transportation. We are working very hard, and we understand the circumstances that we are working with, and we hope that you understand the circumstances that we are working with. We are not just transportation workers that just can get in a car or whatever. Our skills are very high. They are not just driving a bus or being monitors. And for anybody to think that this is all that we do, this is wrong. We have to be trained very well. And this is with both driving the bus and being monitors. And so we do our job very well. And with the conditions that we are working with, we have cover drivers, CDL drivers, monitors, and special need drivers. And each one of those skills, they require a lot. Our cover drivers, we do everything. We not only drive the bus, but we do other skills as well. Dispatch, trainers, we do everything. And our CDL drivers, we drive 2-mile buses and special need buses, and our monitors. For anyone to think that a monitor that has put in so many years that they don't deserve a raise, that really is ridiculous. And so we want you to understand that we are human and we deserve raises and we deserve a good raise. And we work hard for everything that we do. And we ask that you respect us in what we do. And we appreciate everything that y'all have done for us. Our whole department, our whole transportation department, we are working together and we are working hard under the circumstances that we are being put into. And we are trying to represent DISD to the fullest in good faith and everything. And so
Thank you.
we
Your
ask
time
that
has
you
expired.
please respect us.
Our next speaker is Reuben Garrett.
Good evening. May it please the board. My name is Reuben Garrett, a resident of Dallas County, concerned for the welfare of DISD students, teachers, and staff. I urge the board to meaningfully address challenges arising from the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and winter storms. In particular, I ask that you, 1, suspend high-stakes testing in excess of state requirements. These resources should be reallocated to imminent real-world needs, such as counseling and domestic support, as students are still coping with the trauma of surviving a pandemic in isolation from their friends and families. 2, engage trustees to lobby the state education commissioner, Mike Morath, for a federal waiver from STAR. These waiver processes exist for a reason, and if ever there were a time to avail ourselves of them, that time is now. 3, issue cost of living increases for all staff in lieu of so-called performance-based raises. I'm concerned that metrics for the Teacher Excellence Initiative are not collected consistently or equitably and do not adequately serve their intended purpose of securing improved educational outcomes. 4, suspend any consideration of return to in-person instruction until the COVID positivity rate falls within 5%. While our situation has improved in recent weeks, we can't jump the gun and haplessly return to business as usual until it is actually universally safe. Even today, Dallas County's website urges everyone to stay at home. It is fundamentally unfair to subject students, teachers, staff, and everyone they encounter to avoidable grave risks to their health, especially when others have the choice to stay home. The recent cold snap compounds all of the existing equity and integrity issues with standardized testing, DEI, and the pandemic. Students have now lost over a week of instruction, and many are facing lingering issues related to property damage from the storm. Utility outages and impassable roads also affected families' access to meals and other emergency aid. Our focus should remain on protecting human life and recovering lost instruction time, not rushing to complete ritualistic milestones as though nothing has changed. In conclusion, I'd like to share excerpts from a statement by Lauren Murch, a former colleague of the late Kathy Nguyen, who recently disappeared from our site due to COVID-related pneumonia. I am humbled to be able to share the impact Ms. Nguyen had on my life and so many others. Immediately upon hearing her in a staff PD, I knew Chip was very unique in so many ways. We would share ideas openly and collaborate on strategies. She was consistently willing to assist, give input, and attend any event possible, including field trips on the weekends or after-hour events. She would email or come by weekly to update me or ask questions about her struggling students, which we shared. After getting to know her personally, I came to understand that she was struggling with some personal issues that were very difficult. Even with the stress she was enduring, she always brought passion, dedication, and vibrance to her craft, as well as to her friendships. Ms. Nguyen will be terribly missed by everyone that had the privilege of knowing her, and I can say without a doubt that she is irreplaceable. It was crushing to hear about her death so suddenly. My thoughts and prayers remain with her family and friends. I am certain she will live on through them and through all of us who knew her. Respectfully, Lauren Murch, former AVID coordinator. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Charles Williams. Charles Williams.
Hello.
You have 3 minutes to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, good evening. My name is Troy. Reside at 6543 Dallas, Texas 75241. Good evening to the Dallas ISD trustee, Justin Heck, Superintendent Holt, Max Johnson, the whole entire. I'm coming on the behalf of Driver Service Center and also Cleburne, North, and Longview. Gratitude for those drivers and the newsletter, drivers that was put on the page. Thank you. Acknowledging those drivers. Thank you all for considering us. Also, we'd like for y'all to consider us drivers in y'all budget. We would like for y'all consideration when y'all turn in the budget that we would like good cost of living. We asking for a 10% on salary raise. The reason why we are asking 7% raise is because, especially after we have worked, trying to faithfully picking up these students, we consider into y'all what we deserve as drivers and monitors and as employees. Take in consideration that we deserve a big raise. Not we deserve it. We ask that y'all each and every day. And we thank y'all for considering us, all that y'all have done. Accept us as drivers. Thank y'all for really reaching out to us and we know y'all can't do everything for what we do have and we already have. We have to consider us in y'all's budget and next year. Thank y'all for this presentation.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Edward Newton.
I'm just checking. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Edward Newton. I'm a former teacher in the Dallas ISD, and I'm reading a statement on behalf of a colleague of Ms. Kathy Wynn, who wanted to share the role that Ms. Wynn played in her life. To whom this may concern, my name is Norma Garcia. I'm writing this in remembrance of Ms. Wynn, formerly Mrs. Cipriano. I met her at Seagoville Middle School in 2017. We taught many of the same students and also participated in the AVID program at our school. We built a friendship and confided in each other about work and our personal lives. She confided in me, telling me about her personal struggles involving her separation. Anyone would think someone going through what she went through would be constantly depressed and sad. That was not the case for Ms. Wynn. I found strength from her. She offered a warm and loving classroom/home to some of our students. Everyone loved her. Students enjoyed conversations with her. They trusted her. They felt safe with her. She also coached some of our girls in various sports, always with a smile on her face. When she wasn't coaching, she made it her mission to attend as many games and support all of our students as she could, while dealing with her own personal life issues. Instead of taking time to heal, she spent that time loving on everyone else around her. She was such a beautiful soul. Despite everything she went through, there was no doubt in my mind that she was a wonderful mother. My heart goes out to her children who will have to go throughout life without their mother. A position no one will ever be able to fill for them. It saddens my heart to know that for the district, she is replaceable. Her position will soon be available as a vacancy with another teacher. What about for the lives of her children? Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Zoe Holden.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I am going to be reading some anonymous statements from coworkers and colleagues of Ms. Wynn. The first one is Ms. Wynn exemplified what Dallas ISD expects from their teachers. Commitment to the teaching profession and dedication to students inside and outside the classroom. From coaching to planning to checking in on students with non-academic problems, Ms. Wynn was always there. It is a disgrace that the district was not there for her as she lay in her hospital bed. Her death was preventable. It was not necessary. The district must be held accountable for the untimely passing of a committed teacher, coach, and mother. The second one reads, Ms. Wynn was an amazing teacher. She gave so much of her time and her money to her students. She was always willing to do whatever needed to be done for them. She was also super crucial in my growth as a first-year teacher, and she answered any question I had and always made sure that I knew what was happening. She was the peacekeeper of the team. She was so level-headed and kind, and I am going to miss her. The third one, Ms. Wynn's death was so tragic that it sent shockwaves around the teaching community. I have known Kathy for over 4 years, and we became very good friends. Her smile, passion for teaching kids, inviting personalities was infectious, and it touched everyone whom she came in contact with. Each and every day, she went above and beyond to help students, coworkers, and her own 2 children. Being an advocate for teaching was a prideful thing for Kathy, and she was so good at it. She blended her personal life and balanced her time at school. I'll never forget her smile, her wittiness, and our funny conversations that will last a lifetime. May God bless her kids and her extended family during these difficult times. There will never be another Kathy Wynn in the teaching profession as far as I'm concerned, and her death is a loss that will be felt for decades to come. We love you, Kat. And personally, as an organizer for Ignite Middle School, I've heard from other staff and teachers about how this was handled. This is Zoe speaking. Teachers were given a grievance counselor, but then held in PLC meetings all day and couldn't go talk to anybody. Students were told not to tell students how Ms. Wynn passed away. They weren't given counseling. This is an abomination. It shouldn't have happened. Every single one of you should be ashamed. I know people who have lost coworkers and who have lost families, and every single one of those deaths was preventable. And their lives are on your hands. And that's my time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Patricia Major. Patricia Major. Our next speaker is Manuela Puebla.
Hello, can you hear me?
You have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you.
Manuela Puebla.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Mi nombre es Manuela Puebla. Tengo 2 hijos en el Distrito Escolar de Dallas, estudiando en la escuela Robert T. Hill Middle School. Me dirijo hoy especialmente al doctor Michael Hinojosa, esperando encontrar algunas respuestas. Me gustaría saber cuánto es el dinero que ha sido presupuestado para la educación de mis hijos y cómo se destina ese dinero en educación.
We can't hear you.
Mi hija está asistiendo a clases presenciales, sin embargo, sus maestros le dicen que encuentran las respuestas en Google cuando ella les pregunta en clase. Por otro lado, mi hijo en educación especial no recibe PAID. Mi hijo fue lastimado física y emocionalmente en la escuela y ahora tenemos un bill que pagar que el distrito no quiere cubrir. Debido a todos estos incidentes, mi hijo tuvo un retroceso emocional y académico terrible. Hoy más que nunca necesita servicios. También quiero preguntar si ustedes están esperando que la próxima vez mi hijo sea golpeado o violado dentro de una escuela para que reciba servicios de educación especial. Los diagnosticadores han dicho en mi ARD que mi hijo se beneficiará de un aprendizaje bajo la plataforma de YouTube, sumado a las horas de Zoom, y que para que logre sus objetivos debería ser animado o a trabajar bajo recompensas de comidas. O sea, que si mi hijo trabaja, se le debe de dar comida. Esto es completamente inaceptable porque mi hijo con autismo no verbal no es una mascota de circo. Su metodología no cumple con la ley de IDEA.
Methodology it does not comply with the law of IDEA.
El Departamento de Educación Especial con la señorita Juani Valdespino solo se ha convertido en un contenedor de quejas donde no existen soluciones. Vamos a terminar el ciclo escolar sin soluciones. Esto se ha convertido en un juego de pelotas donde nadie se hace responsable, nadie se compromete. Por favor, dejen de intimidar a los padres de familia porque el caso de mi hijo es muy similar al de otros padres. En los últimos meses he solicitado apoyo a mi trustee del distrito número 3,
for support
Dan
from
Maquique y el señor
Mr.
Richard Castle,
Dan
y ambos
Mitchke,
han
the
ignorado cada
representative
mensaje que
of my
envié.
district,
Por favor,
and my
quiero
messages
solicitar
have been
con el
ignored.
doctor Michael
I
Hinojosa
want to ask the
una
help of
cita
Dr. Michael
para una
Hinojosa
solución a todos mis
to
problemas.
get a
No puedo
solution to all
encontrar
my
su correo
problems.
electrónico, su teléfono o dirección de
I don't
oficina
have
dentro de la
his
página del distrito escolar.
address or
Me
his
encantaría al
email
final de
address
la
or
reunión que
phone
alguien de
number
su staff
in any,
me
and
ayude
I
con
haven't been
eso,
able to
por
find it
favor.
on any page
Pienso que
on
usted,
the
señor
website. I
Hinojosa,
feel
es
that
la
you,
máxima
Mr.
autoridad.
Hinojosa,
Yo le
is the
pediría a usted
maximum
FAPE para
authority,
mis
and I'm
hijos.
asking for
Antes de
FAPE
acudir
for
a
my
cualquier
children.
agencia estatal, creo que podemos trabajar juntos.
I
Muchísimas
believe
gracias.
that we
Gracias
could
a los
work
miembros de la Junta
together.
Escolar.
Thank you
Buenas
to
tardes.
you and to all the members of the board.
Thank you. Our next speaker is George Rangel.
Good evening, President Henry, trustees, Dr. Hinojosa. I'm George Rangel, Executive Vice President of Alliance AFT, 334 Center Street, Dallas, Texas, 75208. I'm addressing you on TEI and staff support staff compensation. Because of school closures, differing rates of in-person and virtual learning, plus many other COVID-related issues, a fair and equitable evaluation is just not possible. This week, we were notified a campus is keeping staff next week 2 days until 6 p.m. That's only one school that we know about. We can't compare, nor can we fairly measure an educator who is burned out or dealing with back-to-back trauma experiences, as you've been hearing. Many are still dealing with living conditions. In addition to this, faculty and staff now have to focus on preparing for STAR tests. The required testing decision is frustrating. Teachers expected to march to a beat of a drum no matter what, even if the time is time-consuming, expensive, and worthless drudgery that has no value for students, parents, and teachers. This unforgiving decision misses the mark on understanding that tests like STAR are faulty for serving as assessments to help guide instruction for kids during this pandemic, in a time when we need to be concerned about students' social and emotional and well-being and their health. We're spending precious time on worthless tests and expending millions of dollars to buy time to catch up students. The federal determination is a missed opportunity too, particularly for Texans who are emerging from a catastrophic storm, leaving teachers and students in the cold without electricity, heat, and water, and in many cases, with damaged schools. Alliance AFT is urging you to hold teachers harmless under TEI, yet they should receive a compensation increase for their hard work. Also, please know we are submitting a proposal for salary increases for support employees for 2021-2022. This year, we had employees who went out without getting paid for 5 months and were zapped with insurance payments on their first paycheck after they returned to work. We have to do better by our cafeteria and transportation employees. We will be providing an administration a proposal outlining our request. Please keep those that have passed because of COVID in your thoughts and prayers, especially the families of Ms. Gwynn, Mr. Becker, and the transportation employees that we have lost due to COVID. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes our speakers.
Thank you, and thank you to all the speakers for taking the time to share their concerns. Trustees, we are now On Section 5, approval of the minutes submitted. The following minutes have been submitted for approval. Board of Trustees and Superintendent Workshop, January 30th, 2021. Public hearing, January 28th, 2021. Board meeting, January 28th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Flores, second by Trustee Marshall. Trustees, are there any corrections? All right, trustees, will you please cast your vote?
I have a question. I don't know if it's a correction.
Go ahead.
I just, on, let's see what, this is page 5, number 10. It says approves the administration's written plans presented at the February 11th board briefing related to modifications to TEIPI and so forth. The document that was presented on February 11th talked about more than just the related modifications to TEIPI and so on and so forth. The last page of that document referenced a high-level plan for how raises would be paid at the end of this year. I just want to make sure that this resolution, that reference in particular in this resolution does not sort of mandate the last page of the briefing materials that talk about how the raises would be structured at the end of the year.
I can assure you that when the board takes final action on the compensation plan, the actual increases will be done as part of the budget. Is that correct, Dr. Wilson?
So this resolution has nothing to do with the structure or the way in which raises are paid out at the end of the year, correct? Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Mills. Thank you, Trustee Marshall. Trustees, will you please cast your vote?
Trustee Johnson. It's not popping up. I can
you
enter
just say it
yes
aloud?
for you. Okay, yes, sir. The motion passes 9-0.
Thank you, trustees. We have one statutory item to approve the resolution of the Board of Trustees of the DISD waiving local policy mandates not associated with state or federal mandates, no financial impact. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second, and I guess I was asking my question on the wrong item. Sorry about that.
That's fine. Motion made by Trustee Flores, second by Trustee Marshall. Trustees, is there discussion?
Only my question I asked earlier.
Got it.
Well, no, there's another question over here.
Go ahead, Trustee Foreman.
I need to just get clarity on exactly what we are waiving. Do we know which policies we're waiving? So that I have some clarity on that just in terms of policy.
I'm sorry, what was that question again?
What policies would we be waiving?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have those. I mean, it's in the resolution. It's basically the policies that are going to be referencing are TEI pay for performance, the EDEI pay for performance, the APEI pay for performance, and the PEI pay for performance.
So do we have the resolution with those policies listed?
I apologize.
I hate voting for stuff in the blind.
It's attached to the item on.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. Let's see. Got the item here.
Sorry, I'm getting interested.
Okay.
It's the 6-page document, the second document there.
No, it's the next one. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you. So let's see. We will waive DNA, which is going to be the TEI policy. DNB, which is the PEI and APEI policy. DN, local policy, which is the EDEI policy.
Those three policies?
I believe that's it. Yeah, and they're all related to the pay to performance components of those EI programs.
All right, thank you.
Trustee Foreman, do you need time or you?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Trustees, will you please cast your votes?
Motion passes 9-0.
Thank you, trustees. You just adopted the motion approving the resolution of the Board of Trustees of DISD waiving local policy mandates not associated with the state or federal mandates. Now to the consent agenda items. We have consent agenda items 7.01 through 7.41 as amended. The following agenda items have been pulled for a separate vote: 7.05, 7.11, 7.19, 7.20, 7.33, and 7.36. Did anyone get their questions answered to the extent that we could add these back to the consent agenda item? Okay, trustees, have a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by trustee Flores, second by trustee Marshall. Trustees, will you please cast your vote?
The motion passes 9-0.
Thank you, trustees. You've just adopted the motion approving the consent agenda. On item 8.06, to approve the guaranteed maximum price 1, GMP 1, Exhibit A for Turner Source A Joint Venture Construction Manager at Risk for the Career Institute at Walnut Hill for demolition, abatement, and make safe construction in conjunction with the 2015 bond, not to exceed $1,281,510.00 bond funds. Consider item 7.36, pulled by trustees Joyce Foreman and myself. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by trustee Flores, second by trustee Marshall. Trustees, is there discussion? Hearing none, trustees, will you cast your votes?
That's what I'm talking about, people.
Motion passes 8-0.
Thank you, trustees. You just approved the last agenda item. It is 7:45 p.m. This meeting is adjourned.
I'm in one piece. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me do this right. Thank you.